welcome to Wednesday Debate Live with Taghreed Hussein here on Nile TV International. Tonight we'll be having all the honor and pleasure to talk our long partnership and common aspirations with a very dear country. Tonight we'll be flying to the Emerald of the Equator with more than 18,000 islands, 300 languages, to the country offering many adventures. Welcome, dear viewers, to Indonesia with its bustling charm. The very place that was chosen as the venue to hold the World Tourism Day 2022 to see how the world can improve tourism to a far better degree. Welcome to the charming, exquisite place that awakens sparks and awakens also positive vibes and energy. Welcome to Indonesia with its vibrant culture and its exciting local experiences that offers you the best place actually to enlighten creativity. Tonight we'll be celebrating together the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Egypt and Indonesia. We're having all the honor to be hosting a very dear friend to Nile TV International, and our guest of honor tonight, His Excellency Ambassador Lutfi Rauf, the Indonesian ambassador to Egypt. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for coming tonight.
It's a great honor to be here. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much, Ambassador. And together with my guest of honor, His Excellency Ambassador Lutfi Rauf, Indonesian ambassador to Egypt, we'll be talking more about our bilateral cooperation. We'll be talking more about the story of success that binds both nations, Egypt and Indonesia. But before, let's have a look at the top stories of the day as His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, delegated Defense Minister Mohammed Zaki to take part in the commemoration marking the anniversary of the late Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser. In an authentic military tradition, the Minister of Defense Mohammed Zaki laid a wreath at the tomb of late President Nasser. Defense Minister Mohammed Zaki conveyed the greetings and appreciation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Egyptian people to Nasser family in recognition of his patriotic and devoted efforts to raise Egypt's status at the regional and international levels, as well as his courageous endeavors to support Arab people in their quest for independence and freedom. Zaki stressed that the memory of late President Nasser will remain a role model for future generations in the struggle and the sacrifice to achieve social justice and to meet the aspirations of the great Egyptian people. We'll be talking about Indonesia's historic relations also with late President Nasser. And throughout history, it has always been a story of friendship and success with Indonesia. But let's first see this upcoming report that highlights actually 75 years of Egyptian-Indonesian diplomatic relations. Let's watch.
The Embassy of Indonesia in Cairo has recently celebrated the 77th anniversary of the country's independence and the 75th anniversary of the Egyptian-Indonesian bilateral relations. In his inaugural speech, Ambassador of Indonesia to Egypt, Lutfi Rauf, remarked that Egypt was the first Arab country that recognized Indonesia's independence in 1945, when both countries established their diplomatic relations through the signing of the Treaty of Friendship and Cordiality. The year 2022 is special for Egypt and Indonesia, not only in regards to their bilateral relations but also for multilateral ones, as Egypt and Indonesia commemorate 75 years of diplomatic relations. The two countries continue to work together towards more strategic partnerships, developing bilateral cooperation for mutual benefit and a better future. Both countries are actively engaged in promoting regional peace and stability, enhancing regional economic cooperation, and achieving sustainable development goals. The very things that remain the engine of their relations and their agreement on several international issues. And today, issues such as women's empowerment, climate change, combating terrorism, and surpassing the COVID-19 repercussions are among the country's common interests. Throughout the last years, much has been achieved by both countries in the fields of public health, education, energy, agriculture, industry and transportation. In addition, There are several ambitious plans offering opportunities for more cooperation between the two countries in the fields of developing services, renewable energy, protecting the environment, as well as new areas such as digital economy, financial inclusion, and creative economy. During the past decades, the cultural component in bilateral relations have been characterized by long-lasting relations between Al-Azhar University in Egypt and the Ministry of Religious Affairs and several religious institutions in Indonesia. The main principles that the two countries have long shared are still valid, as both countries are eager in their promotion of peace, solidarity, and moderation.
We're really honored to have with us His Excellency Ambassador Lutfi Rauf, Indonesian Ambassador to Egypt, as our guest of honor tonight. Ambassador, the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations, a very dear occasion and a very special day, binding bilateral relations between both countries. And today, of course, all salute goes to the soul of late President Gamal Abdel Nasser. I know that there has been historic relations binding Egypt and Indonesia and binding late President Nasser and President Sukarno also. So if we can take like a historic background about relations.
Thank you very much. If we're talking about the two great leaders, of course we need to look at that a little bit far, many years back.
Yeah.
As mentioned before, that of course Indonesian people always remembers how Egypt support our struggles even before independence. Even I think in the around 1920s, this kind of ideas and aspiration has been also conveyed to Egyptian people, especially the youth movement at that times, because we were experiencing the same thing under foreign, how to call it, the controls or dominations. So this is where the start of the Egyptian people know and understands about the suffering we have during the colonizations. It is therefore from there on, the presence of Indonesian students here, the youth, with the counterpart from Egypt's youth movements also, inspiring our struggling to gain our independence. It is therefore, it is just not coincident why Egypt is the first Arabic country who recognized the newly proclaimed independence of Indonesia, 17th of August, 1945. Not stop there. And then if we're talking about the President Nasser, it is a legacy to both Indonesia and Egypt, to be honest, because these two leaders with his friends, very close friend, President Sukarno, start to think also in the collaborative way how to free the people in Asia and Africa out of the colonization, because at that time most of the Asian African countries are under colonization. It is therefore General Nasser and President Sukarno initiate and convene a meeting in Bandung back in 1955. We call it Asia-African Conference, with among other leaders that come to Bandung to say that it is time for us to cooperate. One of them, I think, to bring all those colonized countries in Asia and Africa to be independent. And then one of the issues that still now become an issue for us, a kind of homework. There is still one country now that attended as an African Congress but not yet independence. That is Palestine. That was, I think, still our duty and responsibility to continue to help the Palestinians to gain their independence with two-state solutions. So again, if I can repeat once again that General Abdul Nasser, President Nasser, is well known in almost Indonesian peoples because of his closeness and his works with the President Sukarno during that times.
Yes.
And from this one, of course, not stop there. The two leaders and other leaders continue to inspire other nations, especially during the Cold Wars, that bring about the establishment of non-aligned movement, which is until now still relevant to the current world and global affairs, with probably, I think, around 140 member countries, the majority in United Nations actually. So this is, I think, that us, a young generation, have to know about the legacy, about the works of the past, the two leaders that bring our country and many other countries in our how to call it, progress now.
Yes, definitely, Ambassador. It has been great relations throughout the whole year that further developed. And in 2015, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi paid a visit to Indonesia's Jakarta. It has been a turning point since then and a milestone in opening a new chapter of bilateral relations between both countries. His Excellency held during that time bilateral talks with his Indonesian counterpart and signed memos of understanding between both countries, and we're still following up definitely on our solid foundation and the fruits of that important visit.
The visit, I think, back in September 2015, give more impetus and emphasize the importance of the bilaterals between the two countries. During the visit, I think the two leaders reiterate their commitment to continue to work closely to deepen the relations and cooperation in many fields, among others, of course, both in bilateral, regional, and multilateral levels. Another important issue that you mentioned, and also the report raised up before, is that our two countries also work closely.
Yeah, here is a flashback of that important visit by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Indonesia, holding talks with his Indonesian counterpart and signing memos of understanding between the two countries relating into the different sectors, meeting also the Secretary General of the Association of the Southeast Asian Nations, the ASEAN, and also many other presidential activities. It was a very successful visit, Ambassador.
Yes, of course, one of the issues that also discussed at that time is how the two countries continue to work in promoting Islam Wasatiyah, moderations in Islam, of course, and also counter terrorism, because this is, I think, is a kind of global threat that we have to continue to work on. Other than that, of course, continue to work in the on the economic, cultural, and many others issues. It is therefore now our duties on a working level to implement or to work on those commitments, those talks that have been agreed between our two leaders, and of course we need to do it on both sides. We need to tango. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
Because we cannot just say the relation between the two countries culturally and historically is very close, but if we don't do anything in a concrete programs and action on the ground, I think, you know, that kind of commitment will prove nothing from my perspective. Yeah. That's why we have to continue to work together.
Yeah, we're continuing actually to work together and seeing eye to eye on more than one important level. And since Your Excellency have mentioned the Wasatiyah, and here, of course, we have many Indonesian students in Egypt studying at Al-Azhar, Sharif Al-Azhar University, and there has been great relations between Egypt and Indonesia in that sphere, and also with Al-Azhar, memos of understanding, and definitely in the move that Your Excellency was talking about, which is fighting terrorism.
That's one of the issues that's been discussed between the President of Indonesia and President Egypt during the visit. It's about advancing and deepening cooperation and education, because as a matter of fact, Egypt is a place for around now 12,000 Indonesian students, the largest probably in many other parts of the world. And mostly they're studying in Al-Azhar. It is therefore, from our perspective, is that Egypt is well known almost among Indonesians because of the presence of the students studying here as far as back in 18th century.
Yes.
That's why many parents in Indonesia aspiring to send their kids to study in Al-Azhar. The reason why, because Al-Azhar also has a kind of missions and values related to the teaching of Islam. The true teaching of Islam is Islam wasatiyah, moderations. That is, from our perspective, also closely, correlate, closely similar to the values of Islam that the majority and the mainstream of Islam in Indonesia also are their practices. Because Indonesia is, as you mentioned before, it probably is the most diverse country in the world in any category.
Yes.
Around almost probably more than 400 ethnicities, speaking around 700 languages, living in the 17,000 or 18,000 islands. That is reflecting that, you know, the Indonesians respect to each other, no matter what is the back ethnicity, the religions. All religions has been there. I mean, you name it. You have a Christianity, Protestant, Catholic, Hinduism. Even before Islam came, Hinduism, Protestant, Catholic, and Buddhism already exist in Indonesia. So Islam came in Indonesia through adaptation to the local cultures, well received, not by force, through trading and cultures. So that's why I think that's very compatible with the values and the teachings that Al-Azhar bring about and promote, and Indonesian also adhere to this kind of values.
Yeah. It has been a beautiful celebration at the Indonesian Embassy in Cairo, Your Excellency, celebrating the 75th anniversary of our diplomatic relations. Many people attended. They said it was very crowded, and this definitely reflects Egyptians' love and admiration to Your Excellency and to our dear brotherly country, Indonesia. On your behalf, Your Excellency stated in your speech that this year is special as Egypt will host COP27 of climate change in Sharm el-Sheikh, and also stated before that environment and working on sustainable development is considered to be key focal points in our sense of cooperation. So it's a while to go to COP27, Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, and this is actually the main headline. So all eyes are going to be watching the mother of the world and the COP27. What's in store between us?
Yes, it's true. During that time, it's a very important event because this year, besides we are celebrating our Independence Day's 77th anniversary, in fact, we are also celebrating the very important event in our relationship, bilateral, the establishment of diplomatic relations between two countries already 75 years. And that's why we at that time, I say, we've been working together closely as a friend for the last 75 years. Let's continue to work on, because with so many potential out there need to be worked on for the next 75 years and beyond. And it is therefore I told our colleagues, our brothers, friends at that time, I say, look, it is you who can bring a meaning to this relationship.
Look at the paradise here.
Yes.
Here.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So because of this, I say, you are the one who contribute to deepen and to advance our bilateral relationship. That's why at that time I used the opportunity to express our sincere gratitude and thanks to those friends who contribute and play a role in moving ahead, in advancing our bilateral relations, not only just for 75 years, but beyond.
Here we go.
This is, I mentioned before, you know, this is the proof that before Islam came, the Hinduism already come there. Buddhism, this is, I think, it's a lovely Bali.
Yeah, how
So,
beautiful, we have here also lots of Egyptians are quite interested in Indonesia, the Indonesia tourism, Indonesian culture. We had also Egyptian honeymooners, as we were talking, going to Bali.
Yes.
So.
Likewise, many Indonesians came here to visit Egypt because of we call it the spiritual tourism.
Yes.
Because so many historic places here. Egypt is a kind of, Egypt is a kind of the mother of civilizations. Yeah. Egypt also is a place where, the Prophet Muhammad descendants also, and many others Islamic monument here that the Indonesian people love to come. And then beside that, also many Indonesian visitings, the places like Jabal Musa, San Catherine.
Yes.
I remember last time about 6,000 years before COVID.
Yeah. Lots and lots that bind us, Ambassador. 2022 is going to be also special to Indonesia because Indonesia is going to be hosting the G20 summit. So the significance definitely, and this is going to bring the world to Indonesia as well.
So you mentioned before the 2020 is very important for both us in the multilateral arena.
Yes.
Egypt is hosting as a presidency of COP27. At the same time, the same month, Indonesia is hosting as a chair of G20. In both events, one of the important issues going to be discussed is about environment. You mentioned about before about environment as climate change.
And renewable energy also.
Yes, that's all include on that. So the main theme of the Indonesian presidency on environment on G20 is about climate sustainability and also energy transition. There's also the agenda is going to be put forward by presidencies of Egypt on COP27 summit, inshallah. And then one of the very important element here that Egypt's presidency already emphasized from the beginning is reiterating the need to accelerate the climate actions in all fronts, namely adaptations, loss and damage, mitigations, and finance.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, Egypt's presidency make it very clear, the implementations, all the commitments that has been agreed upon before, even during Glasgow meetings, has to be implemented. And also including on this implementation is that bring support to concrete actions to the developing countries that actually suffering a lot about this from this kind of climate change. So I think this is very important to emphasize that all parties involved to support the agenda for COP27 under the presidency of Egypt, implementations.
Yes, it's time for implementation. We do have a vision, and definitely it's time for implementation. Also, another important, segment of that binds us together is culture and the soft power. Egyptians are very much interested in Indonesian culture, Indonesian music, and the Indonesian beat. Let's enjoy together, Ambassador, the Indonesian beat tonight. How about that?
More than happy to hear that.
Thank you.
And also, of course, we love very much about the cultures and music of Egypt.
Yes, let's enjoy the Indonesian beat here on Wednesday Debate Live. Stay tuned. Yes, Ambassador, Indonesian vibes are really nice that we have enjoyed. We're still having with us our guest of honor for tonight, His Excellency Ambassador Lutfi Rauf, Indonesian Ambassador to Egypt. Your Excellency, we talked bilateral relations throughout history and the sense of cooperation. There has been definitely His Excellency Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri was in Jakarta also seeing eye to eye with his Indonesian counterpart on more to come. Trade and economy, how about that? Lots of incentives, of course, in the field of investment.
Yes. So bilateral relation between the two countries, economic and trade, of course, showing very good sign, encouraging. If we're talking about trade relations, it's quite amazing, to be honest, because during the COVID, where many countries going down economically, at the same time, Indonesia and Egypt prove that apparently they can manage to resist from this difficult time. It is proven by the economic growth. Despite the fact these difficulties, Egypt still managed to post over 3.4% positive growth, just declined a little bit from 5 point something.
Yeah.
While Indonesia actually experienced contraction from 5.7 down to minus 7%, but last year going up again up to almost 3, and then hopefully, inshallah, by the end of this year, it's going up to over 5.4% again. What does it mean? The two partners has already proven themselves that they can resist and manage to go through this difficult time even during COVID.
Yeah.
And then it's been reflected to our trade relations. During this time, in fact, increasing about 56%, both ways, not only one way. And we import a lot also from Egypt during this time. For instance, the major import product from Egypt is phosphate, dates, and also some others kind of fruits. At the same time, we export to Egypt that Egyptian people need, and even for the export to other countries, such as coffee bean, CPO, and then also some other products. So, in fact, Egypt and Indonesia are not competing. We are complementing to each other. We need each other's. We need the products to each other's, which is different from one to another. It is therefore we try to continue to work how to continue to explore and develop the opportunities which is so huge. Looking at the size of the market of our two respective countries, Indonesia with 270 million people, Egypt around 105 million people, very huge. It is therefore we need to work on how to create more easier environment for our private and business people to continue to do business namely together in a trade, investment, and of course in tourism. During the visit of the ministers Sukri to Jakarta, both ministers managed to sign MOU to strengthen, to put more a stronger platform. Because we have a kind of joint consultation before, but specifying only for trade and economy. But since we have a lot of potential in many other fields, so we deem it necessary also to change it, to improve it by establishing joint commissions that can cover many issues, many fields for our cooperation. This is where the Foreign Minister of Indonesia and Foreign Minister of Egypt signed the memorandum of understanding for the establishment of joint commission. In addition to that, because of the importance of the environment issues, Minister Sukri also signed MOU with the Minister of Forestry and Environment of Indonesia on environment protection and sustainable development cooperation that also include and involve biodiversity management. Tackling climate change, of course, become a major issue for our two countries now, especially
now when we are
presidency of Egypt. Of course, waste management, pollution control, and of course, renewable energy. This is one of the potential area of cooperation between Indonesia and Egypt on renewable energy, especially talking about green energy. Where the government of Egypt also continue to develop this.
Yes, definitely we're working on more than one angle, working trade, economy, tourism and culture. What would Egyptian visitors wouldn't want to miss while visiting Indonesia as tourists, Egyptian tourists, I mean?
As far as I know, when we're talking about Indonesia, I think probably most of the Egyptian people still think Indonesia is only Bali. It cannot be, dispute with that fact, because Bali already promote itself as one of the most popular destination in the world. That's why very famous. It is therefore many people come to Bali from Egypt as honeymooners. Sometimes I met the people become a second or third time honeymooners to Bali because, you know, Bali offers very unique thing because part of the culture is not something that human made. It is not something artificial because it embedded in their cultures.
Yeah, definitely, Ambassador. It has been great talking about many angles of our cooperation. It could take hours to talk about our Egyptian-Indonesian bond forward ever. I know you have lots of aspirations for bilateral cooperation in all domains, and the sky is the limit. I thank very much His Excellency, Ambassador Lutfi Rauf, Indonesian Ambassador to Egypt, for his gracious presence. You honored us, Ambassador. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much once again. Looking forward to continue to working closely with friends, colleagues here in Egypt, to continue to advance, to deepen, strengthen our bilateral cooperation that has been already happily existing, especially if we're talking about the celebration of 75 years bilateral relation between Egypt and Indonesia. We want to do more for the next 75 years and beyond, because we have so much huge potential for our two countries in many fields. You just name it.
God bless you, Ambassador. Forward ever, Egypt and Indonesia. I'm Taghirit Hussein, thanking you all for watching.
Thank you very much. Shukran jazilan.